Hey everybody, this is Garrett from Back to Brick, and today we're going to be talking with someone special that's not just doing Lego builds, but helping others build at his local cafe that he's designed, which is very unique. And I won't go into much more detail, so we can actually talk about it here.
Sure.
Dan, wonderful to have you on. Thank you for coming. And I'd love for you to give a quick intro, where you're at, where you're from, when you started building with Lego.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Gary, for having me on. Always enjoy talking to other Lego enthusiasts. I'm currently in what is called Newport, Kentucky, and it's really just a part of the greater Cincinnati area. I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, um, and yeah, Lego was Uh, a big, a very big part of my childhood. I think probably like a lot of other um, Lego fans, I wanted to be an architect when I was a kid, and so it was just immediate access to trying to live out that dream, right? Um, yeah,
And we could do it at home. We didn't have
that's
to
right.
go through the full apprenticeship and all that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, it was the kind of thing where back in the day, there were interactive CD-ROMs and I would go to the library and just constantly check and recheck out this CD-ROM, interactive CD-ROM of different Frank Lloyd Wright buildings, and I was just obsessed with being able to walk through them on the CD-ROM, which yeah, today would look extremely dated. Um,
Especially
but
CD-ROM, using
yeah,
that. I'm pretty
exactly.
sure most
I
people
know.
don't know what a CD-ROM drive
No,
is for a computer at all.
it's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah, just use your imagination.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love the Frank Lloyd Wright House.
yeah.
Falling Water. Uh, my family home. We're about 3 hours away, so like we
Okay.
visited it. It's very cool. But yeah, similar. I was very into architecture, still am, and
Yeah, same.
Lego is a great place to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Now, as I said earlier, I always ask the first question: if you could build a sig fig or a minifig that represented you, what would it be and why?
Yes. Okay. Um, yeah, I think probably accessories wise, I would probably have a guitar in one hand. I'm a musician. Like, it's definitely not my only passion. Um, and so I've been playing guitar for as long as I've been playing with Lego. And yeah, that would definitely be a part of it. And then the other thing would probably be I would probably have headphones on. So I'm also a passionate consumer of music, um, a fan of most genres. Uh, and so that would definitely be another big part. And then I'm not really sure how I would represent it, but like my background is in linguistics. My undergrad's in linguistics, and my master's is in applied linguistics. And so, uh, just at the heart of all of these things is creativity, and language is absolutely extremely creative. And so that's one reason I was drawn to that as well. Um, and so, yeah, just I think I could drone on about several other things, but that's kind of the connecting thread through everything that has brought me to where we are today.
And yes, I mean the arts is it kind of all rolls in, but creativity is the foundation. That's why I like to talk to people here because there's more aspects than just Lego that kind of roll into the design process and the understanding of how we interact with Lego and language. We were just at a friend's house this weekend, and he's from Spain, so fluent in Spanish, and
Yeah,
I can do maybe 3 or 4 words. Like,
yeah, right,
I'd love
exactly.
to. I have the aptitude, I'm pretty sure, but the patience, not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably true for a lot of Americans, unfortunately. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, but just really quick with that, like, yeah, my me and my wife, we lived in South Korea for a few years, and so that would probably be represented there too somewhere. And that was, that was kind of where my language studies were focused, with Korean and Japanese.
I love Japan. Haven't been to Korea yet, so that's on the list. I know there's a Lego convention in Japan that I'll eventually have to go to.
Yes. Oh my
Round
gosh.
off my world travels of Lego.
Yeah, and there's some incredible, incredible builders in Korea as well.
I believe it.
Yeah.
And so, as you've gone through these travels, through your history with Lego, was there any dark age or like where did you kind of move through life with Lego?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, yeah, there was definitely a dark age. Um, pretty typical. Uh, Probably fell away a little bit from it in high school, but then like just by way of moving away for college into a dorm, and it's not very conducive to building a collection, in terms of space. And so, yeah, I kind of fell away for it from probably starting college to, and then like I think this is probably a common thread you've heard often, and I've heard often is that, and then once we started having kids, it was like natural reentry point.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so that was probably, um, like a 10-year span. And then, like when my son was like probably, a month old, I'm like, okay, let's get this $200 Duplo train set because then
He's
he won't
perfectly, yeah,
won't
he'll
even be able
build
to
that.
play with for several years. Yeah, exactly. And yeah,
Yeah, well, I would agree. In college, I never had a dark age because I had Bricklink orders still coming through to my college dorm. They were
that's
small
great.
models, but because of course the space. But yeah, I didn't want anything to interfere with Lego, and I didn't let a small dorm room stop me for that.
That's
But I can
awesome.
completely understand, especially also with kids. Like a lot of our friends have kids now, and so I of course have to provide the Lego.
That's right.
And everybody sends us pictures like, "Hey, they just built this Lego. Isn't that cool?" They said like Garrett would probably like it. So yeah.
Yeah. That's great. I love it.
So
You're kind of like the dealer in the back alley. You're
yes,
like,
very much. Better than it's a different kind of drug, but I
yeah,
think
really.
it's a creativity drug. I'll take that one.
Yeah, good.
So as you've grown with Lego, and now we've moved into something that's really unique because we usually I try to talk with designers, or I build myself, but this
Sure.
is physical in a different way. I'd love for
That's
you
right.
to kind of dive into the Brickery, how it came to be, and for anyone listening, the Brickery, we'll have Dan describe it a little bit more, but it's the first Lego cafe in the country.
That's right.
So yeah, Dan, take it away.
Yeah. So, yeah, this has been it's been a longer journey than the past 2 years, but really the idea popped into my head, uh, about 2 years ago, and it was, like even 7 or 8 years ago, a friend of mine who's also very into Lego, we seriously looked into opening a bricks and minifigs back when they probably had 15 stores instead of 100. Um, Closest one was a few hours away, and like, got decently far in the process, and just we just couldn't figure out the economics of it. I don't know how else to say it. And obviously, they are working, and I'm so glad that they exist. Um, but just for me, I wanted it to be able to be something more, and it like the collection aspect to me is fun, but it's not as big of a part to me as the actual building itself.
Hmm.
And that was kind of what I felt was missing, in that space, but also in the Lego store itself. If we're being really honest, they're most of them, except for like the big flagship stores, are pretty, sterile. They are not a space that is conducive to building. Many of them are quite small, and like it's very clear that there's a it's kind of set up to be transactional, right? They're more than happy to sell you whatever you want, and they're then happy to see you leave and see the next person come in. And so, of course, they try to create little experiences, but there aren't chairs. Like they don't really want you to hang out and build for a couple hours, right? And so I just always felt like there was a disconnect there a little bit, where Lego's providing this extremely high quality experience in the home that is special. Like there's no other way to describe it. It truly is. And just the things that it can provide for children all the way up to adults is it's just truly incredible. And so I was just wondering why, like that experience, like so many other things, if it's like, well, you have a pool table at home, and then there's a billiard hall out in the area, or any number of things.
Apple, you can go
Yeah,
play with all their electronics.
exactly right. And so then it was just like, like why is there nowhere that you can really just hang out and build in a social setting? That's kind of where I landed, um, and those ideas were kind of floating around in my head. And then one day, yeah, it did just kind of click as I was like getting in the shower a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, Lego Cafe. It's like a board game cafe but with Legos.
Don't we always
Yeah.
love those shower thoughts
Yes. Oh, by
that
the
they
way, sorry. I know people are gonna ding me. I have no problem saying Legos. The first thing you learn in linguistics is that language is completely made up, and so uh, the, like a grammarian would be very strict about it. A linguist would is actually the exact opposite. So just saying that
Oh no,
I
I
know I'm
used
going to
to
be
be a
said.
real big stickler about it. I'd yell at my wife. At this point, as long as you're talking about Legos, I could care less.
That's right.
What you say,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Just to say that I know that you know that I know that you know. Yeah. Um, and so yeah, that was the idea. Is that like, and it was like, huh, it sounds like something, and just started researching it, and I was just genuinely shocked to not really be able to find anything,
Hmm.
um, and just kind of started floating the idea to my wife, to my friends, and seeing that they kind of thought, wow, that is a good idea as well. And so just thought I'm hoping and thinking that more often than not, people are going to feel similarly, that this, even though they haven't seen it before, actually makes a lot of sense, and is a good idea, and hopefully then a good experience, and something that uh, that they want in the community. Yeah,
And I
and so
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it seems like it is from the conversations about it and understanding like the process. Because if you check out your page, you do kind of do a walkthrough of like this is the process, and so like as you said, it was before, but the past 2 years have been the process of building it. Now, I guess for me, it seems a little complicated in the fact that it's a physical store that isn't actually uh Lego affiliate, but Lego use. So
Sure.
how does that work? How did you come up with making sure that you weren't crossing into those legal boundaries?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's complicated to for anyone to build a business around someone else's IP. And so, there's a couple things with that. Of course, Lego has a fair use policy that they call a fair play policy. It's available on their website for anyone to download and to understand how you can interact with their brand in order to make sure that you're not overstepping. And it's just simple things like just making sure they have verbiage that you should include on your website or any printed material. Uh, like obviously it's not called the Lego Cafe,
Mhm.
and that's why it's called the Brickery. And then yeah, it's just like anything else, like bricks and minifigs. Obviously, they're always kind of walking up to that line as well. But if you have a distribution deal with the third party wholesaler that Lego uses in the United States for smaller and independent toy stores, then there's certain things you can do that you probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And then, but you still need to make sure that you're never giving the appearance that you're official in any capacity. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
it's pretty much the same as the thousands of Lego related businesses that have come before us.
So then, as you wanted the interactive part of it,
Yeah.
you see Bricks and Minifigs sometimes does that where they have the
Sure.
tables, they can have events and things. What made you think cafe first? What instead of not just the Bricks and Minifigs, but people have um, areas at the library that you can schedule events like that and have like birthday parties and using the Lego aspect.
Yeah, I think that the biggest difference is that we are providing the typical Lego experience that you would have in the home out in a social setting. And so the big difference would be that almost all of those would just be using an assortment of random bricks, right? To creatively build. And there might still be a prompt, but it's not that you're building a set from start to finish, just like you would typically be doing at home. And so that I think is the thing that really sets it apart. And that's where it would follow with the board game cafe, where it's like the point is that you're actually playing a game from the beginning to the end, not that you're just
Hmm.
looking at aspects of board games and admiring them or playing around with them a little bit. And so that was kind of the idea, was to provide that experience, because that's what you normally do, right? You go bowling, you want to finish the game. You know, play a game of baseball. Yeah, you want to play until the end. Of course, sometimes you would just practice, or sometimes you would just have a scrimmage, but the all of that would be in service of eventually playing the game, right? And so that was kind of the idea, was that I just wanted to take it that step further, that it's like, yeah, this is a place where you're going to come and you're going to complete a Lego set from beginning to end. That is the most satisfying experience, because um, as you know, and as I know, sometimes it's really hard to be creative. Like, and a lot of people aren't
Yeah.
naturally creative.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's a frustrating experience to be sat down with, thousands of bricks and being like, okay, you get to build whatever you want. And you're like, oh, I don't know what I want to build. And so that's a daunting presupposition to kind of go in with. And so that is kind of the magic of what Lego is now, and that it's like, yeah, here is this incredible, satisfying experience where every single time you start with this just pile of random stuff, and then you go through it and you end up at the end every single time with something really cool or really beautiful. And an experience that isn't really replicated anywhere else. And so, yeah, it was thinking to provide that experience for people who aren't familiar with Lego, and definitely thinking of it a little bit more in that way of almost like, I just can't think of another term right now, but just like evangelism for Lego, like
Yeah.
to get people hands on, and just again, like you and I know, to say our bet is that more often than not, if it's an adult that's getting their first experience with Lego, they're actually going to find out that they really enjoy it, that they might even find it therapeutic, and that they're going to say, yeah, this is this great experience that I had, where I had something in my hands that wasn't my cell phone for a couple of hours. I was
Hmm.
looking at something that wasn't a screen for a couple of hours, and it's this tactile escapism that Lego provides that, yeah, it's just unmatched. So that
Yeah.
was kind
And
of the idea.
I mean, it's a great idea because, as you
Yeah,
said earlier, like bringing the Lego experience from the home to a public setting and having not only the interactive aspect of individual, but you look around, see others building, and everybody's having a similar creative experience while
right.
having a different one at the same time,
That's right.
with different engagement. And I think that it'd be great for our listeners to kind of understand, if I walked into the Brickery today, what is the process to get to that point of me
Yeah.
sitting down and finishing a build?
Yes, absolutely. And I know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've kind of talked around it the whole time. But yeah, the idea is that we have a few different options for people in terms of interacting with Lego. But the idea is that, yeah, we are this store where you can come in and not only buy Lego but build it, and then also enjoy a drink and a snack while you're doing it. So the typical process, it's pretty intentionally set up to, the ordering process is kind of set up to mirror typical cafe ordering experience, something like Starbucks, that is familiar to people. Um, and then it also then provides that natural interaction point, right? Where it's like, now I can explain the thing that's not familiar to you. So you're going to come up and you're going to order, but then I'm going to be able to explain the process to you. And so, yeah, I'll be able to show you that, in addition to our drink menu, we also have a Lego menu, and that's kind of fun, right? Uh, Not often you get to order off a Lego menu. And so, um, I can even give you my boilerplate explainer that I normally give, where I show them our menus and I say, yeah, we have the sets here set up and split up by size and estimated completion time. We have them broken up from small all the way up to extra large. And, at each point, you can see the estimated time. I can give those if you want me to. But you get to choose whichever set you'd like to build. We try to make sure that we have every theme represented. We try to have sets from 4+ all the way up to 18+. And so we try to have a good mix every single time. There's over 70 sets that you can choose from at any given time. Um, and then you would choose the set that you would like to build. We would hand it to you just like, again, I'll date myself, just like Blockbuster might have gone back to a drawer behind them and picked out the video that you rented. Uh, so that sounds terrible, I know. Oh my gosh, I'm so old. But then we'd hand that to you. We would give you a tray to build in as well. And then you would be able to also order a drink or a snack as you're standing there. Our main beverage offering is specialty sodas, where just different sodas that have different mix-ins in them. Um, and they're all inspired by Lego characters, or sorry, Lego movie characters. Um, and then snacks is just like prepackaged goods. We try to keep it pretty intentionally, try to keep it pretty mess free in order to keep the Lego as clean as possible. And then, yeah, you would just take the set. You and your friends would take your sets, go and sit down, build the set. Once you're done building it, yeah, you don't take it apart. That's our job. You just bring it back up to the counter and then move on with your day. We would take it apart and then run it to the next person. And so that is kind of the typical flow. At every single table, if you did just want to creatively build, we essentially have like a classic creative set in the middle of every single table as well. And so the nice thing about that too is that if your friend is building a set and they're taking a little bit longer than you are, you finished your set, it's going to take them another hour to finish, then you have the classic creative there that you can build with in the meantime. Of course, you can also browse our store. We sell Lego just like a bricks and minifigs would. We have new and used sets in box and also loose bricks. We sell used minifigures. We have a build a fig station. We have a pick a brick wall, and then yeah, like that's kind of I think the basic rundown of interacting with the store. And then just a couple other things like the classic creative bricks. If you happen to make something you really loved out of the bricks on the table, we could figure out a price for you to take it home. Pretty much everything in the store is for sale. And then we have an incredible mural painted by a local artist. That's great for taking a picture with your build or your creation afterward. And then if you're also from out of town, we have a few maps that we have people mark, Lego maps that we have people mark if they're from out of town as well. And so just some different fun experiences there.
I mean, that sounds dynamically easy. Having the options of finding the Lego and even the creative. I didn't know that you could just build at the table if you didn't
Yeah.
know what set you wanted or were waiting for somebody else. That I mean, you have a Lego store with food and renting sets, which, as you said, this I think, as we talked about earlier, it's the Lego experience that a Lego store should have.
Yeah.
So you've kind of created a new baseline, which I think is it. As we've said, it's creativity in its finest. Using Lego to continue in that creative field.
Yeah.
Now, with your the sets, what's a rental cost look like? Because I did see that you have the menu of like times, 15 to 30 minutes.
That's right.
Is there is there sizes? Not only that, but could I go and want to build Baradur from Lord of the Rings? Take a little bit more than a couple hours. Yeah.
That's a great question. Yeah, yeah. So there are all the way up to extra large. Our extra large sets we say take anywhere from 90 minutes to 2+ hours. We don't currently rent anything that's above, I would say, 700 pieces, and
Okay.
there are just some very logical reasons for that, right? And then just like anyone else, when I first had this idea, that was the first thing I thought of is that, oh man, we could provide a chance for people to build the Titanic without buying it. There's just some logistical issues that with that on our side just don't make it feasible. You
Mhm.
know, the biggest one is that it is not going to be that fun. Uh, most people who buy the Titanic don't build it in a single day, right? And more so, uh, that's even in the case where they're working through numbered bags, right?
Mhm.
Uh, our sets are not going back into numbered bags, and so it's already pretty challenging for a lot of people to work on a 700 piece set that's not in numbered bags. There's a lot of sorting that's involved. If it's right now we have the Batman cow, you know, that's a lot of black pieces,
Yeah.
and so sometimes it could be pretty difficult to find what you're looking for. Now, you know, scale that up 9 times for the Titanic, or even just scale it up 3 times for Baron d'Or, uh, and and realize that yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult. It's not going to be as fun as you would like it to be, and it is different to be out and building. You know, even
Mhm.
at home, you can stop and watch a show and come back to it. Like it is different to be sat somewhere and then build from start to finish for 2 hours. And we really have found that that seems like that's the max for about 90% of people. Of course, there are people who would be happy to do more. And we would
Mhm.
love to provide that experience. We just want to make sure we can find a way to do it. I think one thing I'm toying around with, you're going to learn like everything is just ideas for me. Like, you know,
Right
this,
there with you.
yeah,
It's a blessing and a curse.
yes, the store is 20 of my 770,000 ideas. Uh, but I actually think there are some opportunities and possibilities. One thing I'm messing around with is like, could it be almost like, and then there's the cost factor, right? Because we have to take it apart, and
That takes
then
time. Yeah.
it takes a lot of time, and it also takes energy, and, and takes years off my life, you know. So yeah,
Skin
that
off the fingers too. Your
exactly,
dex. Yeah.
exactly. So, but I do think like I've been toying around with like if it could be almost like an escape room model, um, where, and then if it's the right build where each person has something specific to work on, that a group of 4 or 5 people could still finish it in maybe 3 hours. Um, and so one thing I've looked at is like Diagon Alley. That's almost perfect for considering that because it's 4 separate buildings.
Mhm.
Each person could work on a building. The pieces could essentially be sorted to each building pretty easily, and then it would take time. But then you would be able to then say, yeah, you have to have at least 4 people, and maybe it costs $120, but that doesn't look as bad when you're splitting across 4 to 6 people, right? And so, yeah, that's just one idea there. I don't think it'll work for every larger set, but I do think there are
Yeah.
some where there could be a fun experience there. And maybe you know, maybe we throw on Prisoner of Azkaban as you do it, or you know, something like, and make it a whole experience. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, and I like it popped into my head being the ideas guy, similar to what you see in a comic book store where they have their, 4 to 8 hour time span where you can play a card game or play
Hmm.
a full board campaign. Uh, Similarly in those large scale sets, because yeah, I'm not sitting down and doing the Titanic in one day. That's already going to be 9-10 hours of time. Um, and it would be monotonous, but having food there probably wouldn't be a terrible thing for because I'm not taking many breaks, so having somebody to help me with those breaks would be good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I hear you. Yeah.
Now,
I think yeah. There's a lot of opportunity.
yeah, and I was gonna ask, as you build these sets, how many times do you think you go through them before you've decided, okay, we're gonna retire this one and find something else?
Yeah. Great question. I think right now we've toyed with a couple different models. I think we're going to be settling into right now just updating refreshing the entire menu every quarter is kind of what I
Okay,
think we're going to
okay,
fall into.
yeah,
And so again, that'll be essentially 70 plus sets, and some of them will be more well worn than others. But I think that kind of is working for how we're doing it right now, and also for our customers. In
Yeah.
that we also typically are keeping um, another 70 sets as backups in case someone's built most of what they wanted to build on the current menus. Then we have other options as well. And so, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
how
that's
much
about
stock
right.
do you keep in, like, say, 1 set, during a quarter if you're
Yeah,
switching it up?
yeah, great question. We really actually almost always just keep one of each set.
Okay.
We've found that it hasn't really ever been a major issue. There's a few sets. Minecraft is extremely popular. And so there's a few Minecraft sets that we kept two of each, but we weren't really seeing a need for more than two
Mhm.
if something was just like insanely popular.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's the just how things break down. It's not always going to be the same. People wanting the same things, and if there's not their first choice, they definitely had a second that they're just as happy about. So yeah, I think it's like we do have a limited amount of space, and so um, I'd rather have variety across than be horizontal than vertical. Like yeah,
Sure, sure.
yeah,
And now as you break down these sets and think about, is are you gonna have people walk up and have missing pieces, and what is your rate of, like, sets with missing parts?
yeah. Great question. And of course, it happens just like it happens at home, and it has to be somewhere, just like
Mhm.
at home.
Yeah.
and we get
It's
and
in the store. Yeah.
it's so funny because like at home, you're like, "Cursed you, Lego! I know you always give us all the pieces, but this time I'm positive you didn't." And then you still find it, right? And you're like, "I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Lego. I'm sorry I ever doubted you." But we are now like instead of the faceless corporation, there's a face to blame, and not that it's treated that way, but it's just so funny because then yeah, the first instinct is to come to us, and of course we're more than happy to help them out. It does happen. I will happily report to you that it happens so much less than I thought it would, um, and that we were prepared for. So it absolutely happens. We have pieces sorted just like a typical Bricklink store would have, or the typical avid collector would have,
Yeah.
and we have them readily available to hand to people if they're missing something. Um, it's again, it probably is going to be the case that they just aren't seeing it,
Mhm.
and but we absolutely just want to provide a good experience. So it's never like we're like, "Oh, you're wrong. We took that apart. Everything was there.
Yeah.
So
You
you
screwed up. The
lost it.
customer is never right.
Yeah, exactly." And yeah, so that was really important to us to just make sure that it was a seamless experience, and I think people really do appreciate that. We actually have a note on every instruction booklet that says, if you think you're missing something, just come up and ask for it, to make it clear. And so
Mhm.
yeah, that's been a good experience. And then the nice thing is that 90%, again, 90% of what's missing is usually smaller pieces, right? Just by way of course, if it's larger, it's
Yeah.
easier to find. And so we have a good idea of the most common things that have been missing. Lego loves to keep introducing new elements every single set cycle. So we're always looking ahead too and trying to do some preventative maintenance there and saying, oh man, this piece is brand new. We have zero of it. And let's get it ordered on Bricklink ahead of time
Yeah.
because we can see it going missing. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it is just a little, it is one of those things that it is what it is. It's not, yeah, this is not running a parking lot. It is a hands-on experience, not just for customers, but for us too. We're very high touch with it. And, like, yeah, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as you've seen people building these sets, what's one that you really enjoy seeing people build?
Great question. I like on our last menu cycle, we had the carousel. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's a set that's typically one of those sets that's only sold at the Lego store,
Mhm.
and so it essentially is themeless, quote unquote, but it would basically be a city set, right? Um, and so the carousel was like the perfect embodiment of everything that I love about Lego and that I want people to experience of Lego. So You know, it has a very simple mechanism where it can actually spin. It has really incredible micro builds of four different things you would typically see on a merry-go-round, like a swan and a fire truck. And then it also has really beautiful printed pieces um, that just elevate the build, and then just some really good build techniques in it that are really sound, really satisfying. And when you get the whole thing together, it's just like, yeah, this is Lego in a nutshell to me. I don't know who designed it, but I love it so much.
That is a fun little set, and
Yes.
having the ability to have the mechanism is always a creative part that not every set has. They try the
Yeah.
playability, but it's not always like that.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's always fun. And then brickheads are always fun. If someone's never built one before, it's like there's a brain in it. Like that's so
Yeah,
funny. We've been
I always love Homer Simpson had a donut in his stomach.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Or we were doing Eva Molly, same thing. Like Eve has like a plant inside of her,
Yep. Yeah.
um, and then like we just were doing the Minions this past menu cycle. We just happened to have Kevin Bob from it was from the previous Despicable Me, right? It wasn't even
Yeah.
so that was a retired set, but we were just doing Kevin and Bob, and just like, oh my gosh, people just every single time. That was probably one of our most popular sets, and they were just so satisfied at the end of it every single time. And so it's just nice to see that. That's
Yeah.
one really fun thing that we've been doing. And again, probably some people would have some, like maybe some like different feelings about it. Like, I'm not a purist. Uh, and so not saying like we rent mega blocks, just saying we split sets up wherever we see that it would make sense and would make for a better experience for the builder. So on our last mini cycle, we also had the insect collection, but it was just we each one was one of the bugs, right? And that was great because that really is kind of gets into the spirit of what we're trying to do. We all know Lego's not getting any cheaper, um, and so to take an $80 to $90 set and be like, yeah, you can experience any part of this for $9 or $10, whatever, um, is a really appealing prospect to
Hmm.
builders. And so, and it was also the case that we heard, like people would just say exactly what we were hoping is that that was a great build. I'm okay with not having it on my shelf at home, but I'm so glad I got to experience it.
Yeah.
And that really is kind of that distillation is that I think probably not for all people, but I would say for most fans of Lego, the building is the best part, right?
Yeah.
That is the secret sauce, obviously. But I
Right.
would say beyond that, to me, the building is absolutely the best part. So to highlight that and to package it so that people can experience it and experience it repeatedly, um, yeah, is what we were hoping to provide.
Yeah. And I have two final questions as we're coming up on our time.
Yeah,
The So you're in a mall, I believe. Do you
yeah.
have a Lego store in your mall as well?
No, we do not. So yeah, we're in like one of the two surviving malls in the city, um, and everyone's familiar with that as well. The the Lego store is in the other surviving mall, and so there is an official Lego store in Cincinnati. There's only one, um, and then like in the surrounding area, there's one in Louisville. Like Cincinnati is unique in that there's, I think, five major metropolitans within 2 hours. And so there's one in Indy, and then Columbus has a Lego Discovery Center as well
Mhm.
as a store. And then, but Lexington and Dayton, neither of them have official stores, um, and they're both within about an hour of us. And so we get a lot of people from all of those cities, and it's kind of nice, especially for people from Lexington or Dayton, who
Yeah.
don't have official stores.
And it's like bricks and minifigs. They try to get into locations that aren't right next to a Lego store because it creates that dynamic that could be detrimental to their profitability or
Absolutely,
revenue. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. I I've told people, because we also have people begging us to expand. The next place I would go would be somewhere without an official store, and
Hmm.
I think that does make sense. And I do think, just like with bricks and minifigs, I think there's probably certain smaller size cities that we would this kind of idea would struggle in, where I think you
Yeah,
need a decent population because it is
sure.
still fairly niche.
Yeah, I
Um,
have a friend. He opened a store in the middle of Pennsylvania because the closest one is 3 hours away in either direction.
yeah,
So he's doing very well because it gives
good.
opportunity for that area, and it's encouraging to see those things because you step out on a limb for any kind of venture like that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, and that is so great to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really good.
and for my final question, I always like to ask this because the answers are always so insightful. With Lego through your life, through your business now, how do you think Lego has affected and changed your life?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you can definitely see the impact at every step. Um, it was just something that truly, like as a young child, like I wasn't, uh, like I was always creative, but the things a kid would typically do to be creative, I was terrible at. Like, and the main thing I think of is drawing, and
Mhm.
like I'm still just a horrible drawer to this day. I wish more than anything that I could draw well, but I just can't. Like even my stick figures are bad. So it's like,
It's a special
so
skill.
yeah. But as a child, like I remember, and this was such a big thing when I was a child. Like I had my mom get me all kinds of different drawing books, and I'm like, this is gonna help me. I'm gonna get there, like, and it just nothing ever moved the needle, and so that was actually pretty discouraging to me. And so then to stumble onto Lego and be like, actually, I can do this, like, and I think that's actually that again is kind of the secret sauce of Lego, is that truly anyone can do it.
Mhm.
It's not, yeah, it's not really skills based. It is just you are given the tools, and the system is designed to set you up for success. And that is the beauty of it, is that everything actually does fit together, and that's all by design. And it's not like, oh, I just in drawing, like, oh, I just drew that arm terrible, I'm going to crumple it up, like, no, you just
Yeah.
put a piece on wrong, and then you just take it off, and then you put another one on, like, and it is just really incredible to me to look to that. And same thing that most people would say, like as an adult, my connection to it has evolved, uh, and it really is something I would tell people is therapeutic for me. um, and it is, you know it's like anything else in your life, that of course you can still get frustrated with it. Of course it can always doesn't it's not always life-giving. uh like sometimes it can be
Yeah.
frustrating, but at the end of the day, it's this thing that, there are very few things in life that make as much sense as Lego does. It's I think that's just the easiest way to describe it.
And, an instruction books helps, but it also engages having those creative thoughts and like you said, everyone can do this. There are different levels for sure, but
Yep,
you can put one brick on top of the other and call
that's
it a
right.
Lego set. Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. Dan, thank you for coming and being a part of the podcast. I hope that I can get down there and come and build
Would
some
love that.
here soon. I'm trying to hit a lot of the Lego stores in the country, so yours might be a
Awesome.
stop right there. Um,
Yeah.
But just let everyone know where you're located, what your hours are, if there's anything else they might want to know, so that they can get encouraged to come down and build and have some snacks and drinks.
Yes, absolutely. And again, Gary, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been great talking to you. And yeah, our store again is called the Brickery Cafe and Play. It's the first and only, as far as we know, Lego cafe in the United States. And we're a place where you can hang out, build Lego, buy Lego, grab a drink and a snack. And we'd love to have you anytime. And please make sure you say hi. When you come in, we're open. We're closed on Tuesdays, but then we're open Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, Friday and Saturday, 11 to 8, and on Sunday from 12 to 6. And you can find us on any social media platform at the Brickery Cafe. You can check out our website, thebrickerycafe.com. And if you have any interest or I've been telling everyone, I'm pretty much an open book. So if anyone has any questions for me or wants to chat about this more, all my contact info is on. You can contact us through any social media platform, or our contact info is on the website. And so we'd love to chat with anyone and yeah, just appreciate, again, you taking the time.
Yeah. Well, and for everyone out there that wants to maybe become the franchise, help the Brickery expand, I don't think Dan's going to say no.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, Dan, thank you again. And I'll be continuing talking with you
Yeah.
soon. But for everyone out there, thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you next time. See you, Dan.